Welcome into the post-Merry Christmas edition of the A-List podcast. I'm Kwani Lunis, joined by Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn.
Happy post-Christmas and first day of Kwanzaa, y'all. Here we go. First day of the Merry
Kwanzaa to you as well. Do you know what the first day means or is?
I'm gonna pass it on to Gary Washburn, who knows that. But it's Umoja, it's unity, which is what we are right now. I changed my mind.
You're stealing the answer right from under him.
I did. I absolutely did that. I did. I pulled the classic Kyrie back in the day where I'm just like, no, that's mine.
If Kwanzaa had a Grinch, it'd be you then. That's what it's sounding like.
Yeah, but I love people who celebrate Kwanzaa, and it's just not something I practice with any regularity for too many reasons to get into on the podcast.
Gary, do you celebrate?
No, I mean, I respect it, but I don't, celebrate like we do Christmas. We didn't really grow up with Kwanzaa, but it's a respectable, obviously, something that we all probably need to learn more about. And I think the gifts are supposed to be homemade or not, not widescreen TVs, Kwani, not,
Wait, okay. I don't know how you know this, but I actually got a TV for Christmas.
Because we know you, Kwani. We know. That's called unity. When you work with someone.
That's against the principles of Kwanzaa.
How do we know they didn't make it?
Give the TV back.
That's what it is. First day, we're going to give you a TV so that we can unite as a family and watch the TV together. That's what that's about, Gary. That's what that's about.
It works.
But I got to keep the remote control because there's only so much unity we can be down with. I got to have that remote control. I'm just
to be safe. Understood. All right, let's get into the Celtics. Of course, they were able to seal out a win at the TD Garden on Christmas Day. Jayson Tatum with 41 points, the second most by a Celtic on Christmas Day, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. What did you think about Tatum's performance? We'll start there.
Balling. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, you're supposed to show out on national TV. Listen, one of the players that was to me, was one of my favorite players to watch play only because I knew there were certain nights and certain times of the season where he was going to absolutely ball off for Boston. And that's Rajon Rondo, playoff Rondo, primetime Rondo, whatever you want to call him. He was one of those guys that always tend to elevate his play when the biggest amount of eyeballs were on him. And I thought Tatum did that on Christmas Day. Giannis is a phenomenal player. And for as long as that dude is healthy, he's going to be on everyone's top 5 MVP list. I have very little doubt about that. But on this particular night, Tatum was a better player. Tatum had better numbers. Tatum had better impact. And Tatum had one more poster than Giannis did. That dunk on him, Tatum's had some good ones, but we'll talk a little bit more about that one. But that was filthy what he did to him. And he got the W at the crib.
Yeah, I thought it was an impressive win for the Celtics. I thought Tatum was, at one of his best games, just in the situation too. Obviously they go into this game with a lot of uncertainty. They had lost 5 or 6. They had kind of beat back Minnesota. It wasn't like Minnesota, and that was not a full Minnesota team in Karl Anthony Towns. But they were able to, kind of fight back Minnesota and take control in the fourth quarter. So it wasn't like they were, mad and super impressive. This was a game. It was like, wow. I mean, if Milwaukee plays the way they're supposed to and can, the Celtics could, if they come out sloppy, could get embarrassed here. I mean, this could be an ugly national TV game where they just get flattened, get stomped. And they came out, took the lead, took control in the third quarter. And Tatum, 20 points in the third, was just at his best, dunking on Giannis. But I just thought he played within the flow of the game. He attacked the basket at times. He got his shot off. He hit that mid-range. He didn't take too many threes. I thought it was Tatum's full arsenal. And then Jaylen, and then the thing is, if you really look at it, I mean, Tatum had 2 points in the fourth quarter. He had 39 through 3. Like Jaylen Brown took over in the fourth, and they put him away. They scored nearly 140 points on the number 2 defense. And I don't care if Chris Middleton wasn't there. That was a good Milwaukee team. And, that's a team that's struggling too. I think they've lost 3 in a row now. Lost to Cleveland, lost to Brooklyn, now lost to Boston. But that was a quality win for the Celtics. And I just feel like it was much needed because it gives them that boost going into the, this week here with a couple of tough games. And I'm going to say Houston's a tough game because them young dudes play hard and you don't want to get caught slipping in. And they got the Clippers back coming in at full strength. So I thought it was a quality win for the Celtics. And the way they defended Giannis too. I mean, just, hey, take the mid-range. He had some of those mid-range shots, but he had 2 shots in the paint, 2, I mean, 2 of his 9 field goals were he had 1 3, 2 shots and then 6, I think 6 mid-range. So that's what you want, Do not let him get at the rim and, let him shoot from 3 and let him, hey, if he hits that mid-range, that's fine. So I thought all around good effort from the C's.
Yeah. I mean, they did a really good job, I thought, of, as Gary pointed out, really building that defensive wall. Because even when Giannis had a step on a guy, there was always 1 or 2 guys closing that gap and being able to rotate defensively so that there really wasn't an open shooter per se, based upon Giannis' ability to penetrate. And it just made every shot Milwaukee took, for the most part, a tough one. And that's what you want to do against a team like that. You want a player who has a clear and undeniable weakness like Giannis has, which is his perimeter shooting, to find ways to impact the game otherwise and be able to defend those ways, play more to your strengths. Again, they gave up, 118 points, which is a decent amount, but considering how efficient they were offensively, considering how they were able to force Giannis, in my opinion, to play a much more uncomfortable game for him than he's used to. That's the secret sauce to beating a team like this, defending at a high level, making your shots, and being able to move on to the next play and ultimately the next game.
And they took care of business as they should have. Another piece component in this game was Jaylen Brown, 29 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 little kerfuffle. We'll get into that during the game. Actually, we can talk about that now. Let's talk about that first. His little scruffle with Giannis.
I got my thoughts on that, but I want to hear what Gary Washburn.
I want to hear Gary too.
Giannis, I mean, it was just like one of those situations where, I think Giannis got a little irritated with the screen. I think Jaylen kind of hit him in the midsection, not the low midsection, not like,
Al Horford. It wasn't an Al Horford.
No, but he kind of hit him like in the lower part of the stomach. a little bit. And I think that Giannis had an issue with that. And, he kind of rose up and then, him and Jaylen kind of went, and I just think that's 2 competitors going at it. I don't think that was the funniest part to me was Marcus Smart going at Giannis out of the Tupelo.
Ride or die, right?
Yeah, like Marcus Smart said, hey, let's take it outside, basically. Let's take it to the locker room. You want to talk that mess.
You don't play about his teammates. You need a teammate like Marcus, okay?
Joe Varden from The Athletic pointed out, I guess those 2 guys kind of went at it a little bit in the World Cup in 2019, where I think it was a hard foul at the end of the USA-Greece game, where Marcus and Giannis had some issues there. And so this might go back a few years. I have to find that tape or whatever to see what happened at the end of the USA-Greece game in the World Cup. Remember once upon a time when Jayson, Jaylen, Kemba, and Marcus were all on Team USA. Yeah.
White was on it. I think Derek White was on that team too, right?
Yeah, Derek White was on that team. So
people forget about Derek White. People forget.
We all
I don't. Gary does. I don't.
No, I think that he's getting better, but I just thought it's a competitive thing. I wasn't really like overly, I didn't think much of the little thing. I just think Giannis was frustrated through it because he had been defended well. Jaylen might have hit him a little bit below what he thought was appropriate. And they, went face to face. And it's good that the Celtics ain't going to back down. I mean, they don't really have an enforcer. They just don't. Like, they don't have a dude that, okay, that's not the dude to mess with. They don't have that guy. Okay. So when Jaylen is like that, that's good. Because I remember Cedric Maxwell a few years ago saying, when's the last time you seen Jaylen or Jayson in any type of like issues on the court?
True.
Like, that's a problem that they're just
I like
nice
it.
guys. And Jaylen, we see, is not I don't think Jaylen's going to throw hands or nothing, but I think Jaylen's not going to just back down. Now, we haven't seen that from Jayson. Jayson usually doesn't get too much. And I thought there's some situations where he could have gotten into some faces, some opponents. I remember a couple of years ago when Kevin Durant fouled him, kind of undercut him on a three, and Jayson could have said, "Hey man, what are you trying to in my career? What's up with that?" But he didn't do anything. But I think it's good that they're showing some fire. But Marcus can't be the only one all the time. There's got to be some dudes who are like, "Hey man, don't do that," or get out my face. So I thought it was enjoyable. But there's two teams that don't like each other. Let's be honest. It's a rivalry here.
I don't think they like each other, but they absolutely, without question, respect one another, which is important. The one thing, though, and Gary, you know this, I am a big fan of feistiness. I need guards I need some dogs who want to guard that yard. I need guys who want to not let it be known that they're weak or they're soft. If someone is going to try and punk you, which I thought Giannis was trying to do when he jumped up in Jaylen's face, Jaylen had a couple of choices. You could have just turn his back and walk away and just say, "I'm not getting involved with that," or you stand your ground and let that man know that you're not having it today. Today, the price of getting punked has gone up, and I ain't paying it. We are going to stand our ground. And Giannis, and you saw what happened. Giannis looked at him, and he looked at Giannis. What did Giannis do? Nothing. And to me, the point that Jaylen was trying to make, that look, you may be this, that, and the other, but I ain't going nowhere, dude. I'm standing right here. You need guys who are willing to do that. And the whole Marcus and Giannis little kerfuffle on the side, that was intriguing to me, because both of those guys, I would not mind seeing them get a little physical engagement, because I think it'd be a hell of a battle. Giannis is no punk. He is absolutely, he may not play much, but he ain't no punk. And we know Marcus ain't no punk. How do
you know he's not no punk? Because he don't play. He don't play. What are you talking about, Sherrod?
Gary, trust me when I'm telling you, Gary, if you only trust one thing I ever tell you in life, this is that one thing. Trust me on this one, Gary. He ain't no punk. Trust me on this one.
You heard it here first, folks.
I'm just saying, I don't know.
Gary, you don't want to know. You really don't want to know. Trust me on this one. But the bottom line is this. The Celtics, not only did they win the game, but I think they addressed in a very small but significant way some of the concerns that I think some folks like Cedric Maxwell have painted, and legitimately so. Is this team mentally tough enough to deal with some of the pushback that they're going to get from teams who are going to try to punk them? Are they going to just, do the civic thing and just walk away? Or are they just going to be like, no, we ain't going nowhere. If you want to bring that smoke, we ain't going nowhere. We're not going to the out back. We're not going out. We're standing right here. And I thought Jaylen, I thought Jaylen did a great job of standing his ground, which he needed. I thought they needed someone to do that other than Marcus. And I thought Marcus, just being Marcus, hey, let me get some of that too. And he did. So I enjoyed the hell out of that. That was probably my favorite part of that and the Tatum dunk were probably my most favorite parts of the game, because I thought both of those moments really spoke to where the Celtics are and how the Celtics are trying to let anyone and everyone know we've lost a few games, but guess what? We ain't going nowhere. We still rocking with the top teams in the East, and we ain't planning to change that anytime soon.
League's on notice. What did you make of Jaylen's actual performance on the floor, though?
Oh, killer! I mean, he was. Yeah. I mean, he was that man in the fourth quarter. He was that guy that carried them. And the thing that people have to, I think, embrace about the Celtics team, every single game they play is so important, because for the way I look at their team, the way they're built, the way they've played, they have to finish with the best record in the Eastern Conference so that they can have the benefit of having home court at the end of the day when all is said and done. You start looking at Jaylen and Jayson's numbers, they average about 4 points better at home than they do on the road. And you're talking about two guys who can combine and get you 60 at home pretty much every game. If you got 7 or 8 other guys playing and those guys give you 7, 8, 9 points on average each, you got 120 points. And that should be more than enough to win at home. Whereas if you go on the road, obviously everything changes a little bit. Their impact, their scoring, all that isn't quite what it is at home. So that's why for me, it's important that Jaylen continues to be a player who understands when he has to take over the game. I think that's the one thing he's gotten better at this year than maybe last year and the year before. Tatum is going to do Tatum. He's going to wind up at the end of the night with 25, 30 points, damn near roll out of bed. He's going to get that. But Jaylen has to have 25 or 30 impactful points. And for me, there are quarters every single game where Jaylen Brown has to be the best player on the floor. And I thought against Milwaukee, he was that guy in the fourth quarter. Tatum, he was that guy in the third quarter. They're doing a much better job this year figuring out when each of them can dominate, and while the other is more of kind of like that guy to the side that in case of emergency, I still can get 10, 15 points in about like 90 seconds. That's why, to me, again, I say the Celtics they're that team. They're the team to beat. They're young, they've got experience, and their best players are figuring out how to play well, not only with each other, but also play well off each other.
Yeah, I think Jaylen Brown is still battling himself. Like the three missed free throws at the end of the half, like he's got to be better at the free throw line, and he's got to be better taking care of the ball. He had 4 turnovers. We certainly had 11 turnovers. That was a good stat. Only 11 turnovers against the Bucks, and Jaylen had 4 of them. Jaylen's been turnover prone of late. He's got to take care of the ball, and that's it. Like, it's not like he's got a bunch of holes in this game, but he's got to be a more reliable free throw shooter, even though he was 80%, nearly 81% entering the Milwaukee game. He's got to be a more clutch free throw shooter, and he's got to learn how to take care of the ball more. And I think that's the thing. Sometimes Jaylen does try to do a little too much, make that spectacular pass, dribble between too many defenders, and he loses the ball. He's worked on his handle, but I think the turnovers for him is still an issue. And I think the free throw shooting is still at times an issue. He's got to be better at that. Other than that, I think he took over in the fourth quarter against Minnesota, 23 of 36 points. He said he was playing terribly before then. He had struggled, and he came back with a big fourth quarter, and then the same thing, helping out the Celtics put away the Bucks. But I just see little things that separate, let's say, Jaylen from like a first-team All-NBA player, and that's the turnovers and the free throw shooting. Like, you can't turn over, you can't be too careless with the ball, give away too many possessions, things like that. And that's my only issue with Jaylen this year, is averaging like over 3 turnovers a game. And, if you have a high usage rate, that's going to happen. But I also think some of them are unforced, careless, traveling calls, dribbling in too deep and then trying to throw it out because he's kind of overcommitted himself and now he has no place to go. Little things that can be sharpened up throughout the season. But I was impressed this fourth quarter, and obviously the fourth quarter against Minnesota, which basically won in that game.
All right. Jayson Tatum, we talked a little bit about his poster over Giannis. Where do you think that poster lands amongst the rest in his arsenal right now?
The only one that he had that I liked more than the one on Christmas Day was the one over LeBron back in the 2018 finals, where that was like 19-year-old Tatum, who may have been 20, 21 at the time, but he was still 19 in our minds, had the baby face. You didn't have all this facial hair we see now. Just rose up and just facialized LeBron in a way that, and again, that was one of those games where nobody was getting buckets. It was I think the final was like 87-80 or something. It was a really close, low-scoring game. And for Tatum to come down the lane, and I didn't even know Tatum had that kind of bounce. I mean, that was the thing that surprised me. It wasn't as if he caught, he was like right around the rim and just rose up. Tatum, the launch pad was lengthy that he took off from. That was Giannis-like game. Now, not Giannis-esque, but Giannis-like, because Giannis obviously has better hops and all that. But it was a great dunk over a great player, and it was in a really significant moment, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So that dunk is always going to be a notch above pretty much anything else he does, but this one was pretty damn close. One, because of just they needed this win in the worst way. We talked about it earlier. I mean, losing 5 or 6, you're playing the team. You lose this game, you drop down to second in the East, which is not that big a deal. But from a psychological standpoint, it would have only extended the misery of poor basketball play that you were already in the midst of. So it was a nice, not only kind of changed the momentum of where your season was heading, but it kept you in first place. And it was one of the many plays that the Celtics were able to make that was significantly powerful, impactful, and memorable in a game that they absolutely, I thought, needed in just the worst way.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other big-time Tatum dunks besides, like on people besides the one on LeBron, anybody that really come to mind. I mean, I know he's had some, but yeah, this was a significant play, very big play. He was fearless. It was kind of a give and go with Marcus Smart. He might have caught Giannis a little under the basket. Not saying Giannis was, it wasn't a legit poster. He didn't posterize him, but he might have caught him a tad bit under the basket. But the thing that impresses me is the fearlessness that Tatum needs to have more. I want to see Tatum score through more contact. Don't quit trying to avoid contact. I think sometimes he avoids contact and he tends to miss layups where he could just probably get fouled more and even get to the free throw line even more. Because I think he's trying to be so, graceful when he gets to the basket and he's taking his thing and he's laying it in but he goes farther when people reach, where if he just went and he got hit, he would probably get to the free throw line. And there's sometimes he misses layups when he just does so much graceful things. And it's just no, Tatum, just take it to his chest and get fouled. And that's what I like to see more. So the fact that he went at Giannis and had no fear was impressive to me. So I'm going to say this is number one. From the LeBron thing, I think was more surprising. It was young Jayson, as Sherrod said, but this was no, man, one, I'm an MVP, and two, I'm going to dunk on you. I'm not tripping. This ain't nothing for me anymore. I think the LeBron one was oh my God, I dunked on LeBron. Oh my God, he's my hero. This was nah, this is Monday. This is Sunday. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is my pleasure. I think with Jayson, it was next ball up. Let's do it again. That's the thing that I think is impressive for me, that this is not an issue anymore. This is not some big deal to him. He dunking on you.
So I take it we want to see more of this from Tatum.
For sure.
More aggressive Tatum. Like I said, playing through contact, not trying to be super, he's got a lot of George Gervin and Dr. J in him in terms of his gracefulness. And that looks beautiful on video, but sometimes he'll try to avoid contact and make the layup tougher. And then he misses it. And, we see Jayson sometimes miss a lot of chip shots at the basket because he's trying to avoid the contact as opposed to playing through contact and getting fouled. Because I don't think many people just straight up block his shot.
Yeah. Yeah, Tatum, he's just better at putting in that work, man. He's just better at putting in that work, and he's more comfortable putting in that work, and he makes it easy. He makes it look easy, I should say.
Our producer, Ahmed, put in the chat that Paul George, Jared Allen, and Simmons come to mind when we think about Jayson Tatum posters. I think a bigger aspect of it, too, is just the person that is on the poster. So obviously the three of them good players, but when you're dunking on LeBron and Giannis, I think it has a more significant value, street cred, so to speak, because dang, he dunked on Giannis and didn't even flinch.
Yeah. That's what he do. He put in that work and make it happen.
We want to see more. All right, before we move on, let's talk about one of our partners, our teammates, Indeed. No one has a business like yours with all its strengths and challenges. To succeed, you need a hiring partner that adapts to your needs. You need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. With their instant match tool, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Indeed makes it easy to hire So easy. It takes about 10 minutes or less for most small businesses to post a job, according to Indeed data. They do the hard work for you. So when you pay to post, that instant match tool shows you the candidates whose resume fit, on Indeed at least, fit your description immediately after you post, so you can hire faster. When you post on Indeed, you are 3 times more likely to get a hire. And with Indeed, you can select for the skills that you're looking for specifically from that person. So you can add a selection of over 100 Indeed assessment tests to your job post and hone in on candidates with the right skill set faster. So if all of this sounds appealing to you, you can actually start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your post at Indeed.com/A-list. Offer good for a limited time. Once again, you can claim that $75 job credit right now on Indeed.com/A-list. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right. We were talking about basketball, so let's talk about the holiday season, because it's my favorite time of year. Holiday leftovers. Well, we're just going to use the holiday analogies. Best Christmas Day team performance from both of you. What do you think is still resonating a day after?
My favorite Christmas Day team performance was Golden State's win over Memphis. And not only because of just how Golden State played, but the saltiness that transpired afterward. Klay Thompson is one of the most level-headed, cool, breezy brothers in the game. But he got a little sick and tired of that Memphis smack talk. And so what does he do? He goes out and plays a good game, but not just a good game, but during the game, he picked a precise moment, the absolute perfect moment to just basically give the Grizzlies the middle finger in a metaphorical sense for all that smack talk they had about dynasty. And he's like, bruh, we know what dynasty is. Y'all don't even know what NBA
numbers.
Y'all don't even know what NBA finals look like. How y'all gonna talk about dynasty? Y'all gotta get to the prom before y'all can be the prom king. Come on. Y'all trying to reign over y'all. And so he picked the absolute perfect moment in that game to just let the biggest smack talker from Memphis in all this whole Memphis dynasty talk, Dylan Brooks, splash shot in his face. Dylan goes down. He gives him the I step over you treatment and then gives him the stare down. Yes, that was a tech that was absolutely well worth it. That's my best team performance, because Golden State shut Memphis up for a minute, recognize that they're good, but at the same time, acknowledge the fact that, bro, you don't know the road that we've walked. So stop talking like you do.
Ain't no comparison. Gary.
Let me see. I was going to say the words, but I'll take Philly coming back in the second half and beating Kwani's New York Knicks.
Love how they're my team now.
Ain't you from New York, Jersey, whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, whatever.
Remember, we had the Nets, not the Knicks.
The Tri-State Knicks, the Tri-State Kwani, whatever. Yeah, you represent them all. No, I'm going to go with the Philly coming back over the Knicks, playing a good second half. The Knicks were dominating in the first half, and then Philly kind of chipped away in the first half, and then Embiid and George Dayton had some big threes, and Harden just took over and beat the Knicks on and I thought that was a quality win for Philadelphia. Knicks have been playing good basketball of late, and I just think the Knicks are looking for any reason for momentum in terms of just like any reason to get excited under the Tom Thibodeau era. And they were excited, but then they get smacked at home on Christmas Day, and it's like kind of the same old Knicks. So other than the Golden State, I thought the Golden State had the most impressive win because it came without Steph. It came with a fully loaded, pretty much Memphis team. I mean, and Memphis wanted to go out there with a mission to just smack Golden State on Christmas Day and prove that they're number one team in the West.
They belonged on Christmas Day too.
Yeah, they didn't happen. They lost with Jordan Poole getting thrown out with 9 minutes left in the game too. It wasn't like it was a full Golden State team for the whole 48 minutes. I mean, literally, it was like without Curry, without Poole, most of the fourth quarter, and they still got handled.
And Poole,
so I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia 76ers early Christmas Day win over the New York Knicks.
And Poole was on pace to hit him with a 50-piece before he got tossed. He had 32 when he went out. So, yeah, Golden State said
it wasn't looking good.
Memphis got sunned. They don't want to admit it, but they got sunned by Golden State. Son,
welcome to the big leagues, babies.
Sit down, son. You're not
They're not ready yet. Right. Okay, what do you think was the best individual performance on Christmas Day?
Who you got, G-Money?
I'm going to go with the Tatum performance. I don't really see, I mean, you could go with, Luka was solid against the Lakers. I'm trying to think here. Clay and Poole against Memphis, but Tatum's 41 on the biggest stage. That was the premium, the 5 o'clock game, the one that everybody was, watching, eating their Christmas dinner and, playing with their new gifts and riding the bikes around the block or whatever. So I'm going with Jayson Tatum. Best performance, as my man Amit just wrote on our chat, the first 40-point game on Christmas since 2018. I'm not really high on Christmas Day stats.
Oh, come on.
Christmas Day, 1973. Some of these teams didn't even play on Christmas. Stop it. Everybody don't play on Christmas. So you only talk about certain teams. Stop that with the Christmas. Oh, it's
if anything, that makes this stat more valuable.
On Christmas Day. Yeah, because back in the day, Kwani, they only played, and Sherrod remembers, they only played 2 games on Christmas, maybe 1. I remember growing up in the West Coast, it was in the morning, it was Celtics at Knicks. It was always the Knicks, right? Bulls at Knicks, Celtics at Knicks at MSG. And then in the afternoon, it was the Lakers against the Suns, or it was San Antonio. It was the best Western Conference teams and the best, and always some Eastern Conference team playing against the Knicks. So that was it. It was 2 games on Christmas Day, morning and then afternoon. That was it. It wasn't 5 damn games on Christmas Day.
But that makes that still valuable because
but everybody played.
A small amount of players that get to play
on Christmas Day. So sometimes it's deceiving. I get it. We all call it. I love Christmas as much as anybody, but I'm tired.
Okay, Scrooge.
Okay, right.
These damn Christmas Day stats. Everybody played on Christmas. How many Dr. J games did Dr. J play on Christmas? Probably not a whole lot. It was just selected teams back then, and now it's basically LeBron, whoever team LeBron on, the top team in the East, the Knicks, because they always love to have MSG in the first game. And I get that's tradition. That was years and years ago. Bill Russell and those guys used to play on Christmas Day in New York. So, I'm going to say, going back to my answer, my Wells Chronicle answer, Jayson Tatum's 41 points against the Bucks.
Well,
in conclusion.
While Gary and most folks were out riding their new bikes and playing with their new Twitch or whatever the hell they do on Christmas Day.
You mean Big Will, my Evil Knievel, my G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip? Yeah. Twitch.
Anyway, while everyone was doing that, once again, people were overlooking one of the best players in the NBA putting in work because he always puts in work. We're talking about the Joker. The Joker, not only did they beat Phoenix, dude had 41, 15, and 15. And I get it why most people didn't see it because most people were doing, I think, what Gary was talking about, getting their grub on, getting their second or third plate of sweet potatoes and candy yams and all that good stuff, while he was dropping 41 and 15 on them fools in Phoenix. This is why he is going to go down when his career is done and over, one of the most underappreciated superstars of his generation. Because it seems every opportunity that he has on a sort of kind of, but not really primetime spotlight, something takes away from that. Whether it's, the time slot, whether it's Christmas, whatever it may be. But it doesn't change the fact that he's a hell of a player who puts up ridiculous fantasy league-like numbers on a regular basis. And again, 41, 15, and 15 is kind of sick. Even regardless of who you're playing, regardless of the time of year, those are ridiculous numbers to be putting up. And, I just watching some of that game, he makes this stuff look way easier than I know it is. But that's just how he is. So that, to me, that was the most impressive performance for me on Christmas Day.
I like that one. All right. Who do you think had the best coaching performance?
I'm going to give this one to my main man, Joe Mazzulla. I thought that, just the way that he went about making sure guys on the right spot, right time, it never felt as though he allowed coaching to become an issue in that game. I thought, just the way he went about calling timeouts, the substitution pass, for the most part, I thought he did a really good job. And he put his players, I thought, in the best position to be, as Brad Stevens always tells us, the best version of themselves. I thought we saw Jaylen Brown down the stretch being the best version of Jaylen Brown, getting buckets. I thought in the third quarter, where they really needed to put a little separation between themselves after what had been a pretty close first half, Tatum took over and gave them a little bit of separation. That is not only on the players to figure out how to do that, but also the coach to make sure that he puts them in the best position to do those type of things. And maybe most important, don't muck up the game or get in the way of that progress. So I thought Joe had a good Christmas Day game as far as coaching.
I'm going to say Steve Kerr motivated his guys to play well, to step up, use the bench well. Dante DiVincenzo, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, guys who, need to step up and play expanded roles with Steph Curry out. And I just thought that they played a dominant ball game against, a fully loaded Memphis team. And I thought that took more because they came off a really terrible road trip. I mean, they were terrible. They were blown out by Brooklyn, where they allowed 90 points in the first half. Like, they were embarrassed on that road trip, and they needed some reason to come up and respond. And it was like, okay, well, is Memphis going to just walk in there and just blow them out like on Christmas, or is this going to be just kind of a continuance of the decline of the Warriors? And the Warriors are like, no, not quite. We still the defending champs. We still defend home court. We still one of the best teams in the league at home, which they are. I think they're the best home record in the NBA. And, they showed it. And I think that's coaching, with Steve Kerr putting those guys in certain roles, them flourishing, the defense against Memphis, not giving in. And I thought that was probably one of the more important wins of the season for the Warriors, because they had to show themselves we can compete with these teams. And we are not trumps. Even though Steph is out, even though we don't have our full squad, even though Draymond is kind of not Draymond anymore, and Clay is every now and then Clay or whatever, we can still do it. And I think that was an important message that Kerr got to his players. And he used those young guys. It's like, it's about time, man. You got to use Wiseman. You got to see what Wiseman got. You got to see what Moody and Kuminga. You can't keep protecting them. Like, you got to give them major minutes. They got to make mistakes. They got to, because that's the future. And you're going to need to have those guys step up if you're going to have any chance of repeating.
I agree. Every now and then, Clay, that's funny to me. It's real. It's true. It is absolutely real. And you're right, Gary. I mean, the one thing that they did, I thought they did a really good job as a collective group of just kind of saving face and reminding folks of how great they are. And for those of you who are looking to save a little money, I got someone who's pretty damn great for you, who can save you a little bit of money. And we're talking about our good friends at rocketmoney.com. Are you wasting money on subscriptions? 80% of people have subscriptions they forget about. Maybe for you, it's an unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. There's this great app that helps you track all of your expenses. And because of it, you no longer waste money on subscriptions you don't even use. You might have heard of it. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month for subscriptions when the actual total is closer to $200 plus. I know this for a fact because as a RocketMoney.com subscriber, they broke it down for me, and I am on the north side of $200, which I am not the least bit proud of, but they're helping me get it in check. Yes, that's right. You could be wasting hundreds of dollars each month for subscriptions you don't even know about. RocketMoney.com, this app, I absolutely love using their information, and it takes a lot of the wear and tear and frankly, the frustration away from trying to figure out how to address that. So it's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. The app shows all your subscriptions in one place and then cancels for you whatever you don't still want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription, and that's happened I know some people who have used the Rocket Money app, and they've found that to be the case, and they've been great about getting that remedied in no time fast. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel. and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. So get rid of those useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/A-list. Seriously, it can save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/A-list. Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/A-list. There it is. Back to your regularly scheduled programming with Kwani A. Lunis.
I have a special guest for us today. Come here. Yeah, yeah.
Is it Pops?
No, my dad. I don't know where my dad is right now. Get your face in the middle. This is my little brother, Joshua.
Your little brot's taller than you, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like
double.
Your face in the middle so I can see you.
So that means he's about 6 feet. Okay.
How y'all doing today?
Wonderful.
How you doing, man? How you doing, Joshua?
I'm doing great.
Good.
He's just making bagels in the back while I'm yapping away.
So this is very okay. What grade are you in?
So I'm a senior in college.
Oh Lord have mercy. He's about to enter that
Sherrod, what you asking senior with Grady in? What kind of question is that? He in the 16th grade. He in the 16th grade, Sherrod.
This is what I hate about Gary Washburn.
This is why we don't together unity as a podcast. My man asking a college senior with Grady in.
Listen, Mr. Not know nothing about emoji.
Why are you talking to him like he in the second grade? So, little Joshua, what grade are you in? Like,
Run DMC, relax, run.
I'm a senior in college, fool.
Run. You need to relax and wear some new Adidas or something. Right? Just relax.
I'm about to get my cap and gown. What you talking about, man?
Don't you need to stand on 25th Street?
Right.
Don't you need to stand on 25th Street?
I'm like 5 months from being a grown-ass man. Like, what you talking about?
I can't say it.
I'm just telling you, Rod.
This is your fault, Kwani.
It is.
Just saying. That's a grown-ass man with Grady in.
So anyone that's looking for an architect,
100%.
is your guy. Just casual architecture.
Lastly, finals take. Celtics Mavericks. Celtics in 6.
Ooh.
Did he say
Mavericks? Okay.
Mavericks get in the conversation.
Wow.
Luka money.
You got faith in Luka, huh?
Okay.
We'll mark today as the day where we
You heard it here.
cemented in history.
All exclusive.
Okay.
Exclusive.
First tape.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks for joining the A-List podcast.
Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. Now you can get back to your bagel. Make me one.
Wow. I knew there was some food involved in this somehow.
Always.
Wow. Wow.
All right. Well, we were going to close out talking about the Klay Thompson taunting the Grizzlies. Do you still want to talk about that, or have we slandered the Grizzlies enough?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little Kwanzaa-esque, and I want to be about unity. So I'm not going to I don't want to slander the Grizzlies anymore. They know who they are. They know what they did, and Klay Thompson put them in their place. They're a good team. They're on the rise. You love to watch them play. Ja, he's going to be, he's over the next 10 years, he's going to be top 5 MVP candidate at least 5, 6, 7 times before all said and done. He might even win it one year. But they got to understand that you can't just be barking at that old dog just because that dog is old. Particularly when you got guys like Steph, particularly when you got guys like Klay, particularly when you got a guy like Jordan Poole who can get you a 40-piece and not in 3 quarters. And he ain't even the number 1, 2, or 3 option. So that you got to respect who they are. And give Memphis much respect to how you guys are elevated. I thought they've done it perfectly as far as building your team through the draft and surrounding those guys with the right role players and right guys who can make an impact. But the Golden State, they're just not that team you want to step to unless you are already surpassed them. Like if you knock them out of the playoffs and they're watching you play in the finals, then you can start popping your collar a little bit. But you ain't that team. That's why you don't see the Celtics popping smack by Giannis. They try to hold their ground. They're trying to show Milwaukee that, look, y'all nice, but we ain't afraid of y'all. As opposed to y'all used to be nice and now we're better. No, they're not going to do that because they know that you're only setting yourself up to get that head crack. And that's what Memphis did. And Klay Thompson had to remind them that y'all not a dynasty. We are. Check the stats. You need receipts? Let me go get my wallet. You want receipts? Because we got them. We got them. What you got? You got some nice players. You got some highlight film. Okay. That ain't no dynasty. Come on now. Stop.
All right, well, let's close out. I do want to address some comments by Dirk Nowitzki. As you both know, he had a statue of him unveiled before that Christmas Day game. And then he was asked about whether or not LeBron would be considered, legitimately in the GOAT conversation. And he said that if he can pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the scoring record, he could easily cement himself as the greatest of all time. The conversation happens every year. I feel like we should just close out the year, bring it up one more time. Do you think LeBron has cemented himself past Jordan at this point?
Gary, you go first. My answer is no, but I'll let Gary go.
No, he hasn't. No.
And I'm not going to
just say this.
Gary.
I'll just say, okay, LeBron played longer, more ball games. Okay, more games, and his stats are impressive. LeBron is number 2. And I was always steadfast for Jordan during this debate. I do think, though, there is a debate now. At first, I was like, hell no, there ain't no debate. Now, some of these youngsters can debate this, and they have legitimate points about who is the greatest player of all time. I still think it's Jordan. He's 6 for 6 in championships, revolutionizing the game. Just not having a weakness. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jordan defended. He scored the rim. He scored the mid-range. Good free throw shooter. Like, there's no weakness in his game. LeBron still has had a little bit of holes, but LeBron more versatile, more like a Magic Johnson. But I think there's an argument there. I think if you really, really listen to LeBron, pro-LeBron people, they can convince you, and there's an argument. For over years, I thought there wasn't. I still think there's an argument, but I still take Michael Jordan. We all grew up during, during that Jordan era. We remember when it started.
We did.
And just, yeah, you too, Kwani. And we all, but for me, I feel like there's an argument now. And LeBron, in his way, you could argue, more versatile than Jordan in terms of like assists and rebounds, maybe a better passer than than Jordan, because he's going up in steals, he's going up in assists, he's going like some of these numbers, like all time, he is rising up. And to me, there's a debate, but I still think it's MJ. MJ just had that, every time he got the damn ball. He about to do something freaky. And I don't get that from LeBron quite as much. When Jordan got the ball, you were just like, okay, what's this fool going to do now? Because they can't stop him. Like, okay, woo, dunk, woo, mid-range, woo, let me just, okay, I just hit a 3 in your face. It was just like, come on, that's ridiculous, man. It's crazy, Well, it's still MJ to me.
Yeah, I Gary and I are on the same page. I think for many slightly different reasons. LeBron, if you go by the numbers, and again, we live in a stat-centric society now where it's all about the numbers. It's all about stats, data, analytics, all that. LeBron has, without question, earned the right to be prominently discussed as the all-time greatest player ever. There's to me, that is not even debatable. He is in that conversation. But when you start trying to do the whole MJ versus LeBron, I'm always going to come back on MJ's side on this, and it's simply because of the consistency that he brought to the game from an opponent's preparation standpoint. There are nights where teams are going to game plan against the Lakers, and they're not really going to be focused all that much on LeBron. Because remember, LeBron, as much as he's dragged some teams that were just kind of sorry sacks of teams deep into the playoffs, he's also played with some really good and has gone out of his way to join up with really good players. Michael was just like, give me whatever the hell you got, Phil, and I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make Steve Kerr, and I'm going to give him an iconic moment. Paxton, I'm going to give him an iconic moment. You're not going to remember another damn thing those guys did in their careers, but I'm going to set them up to do something that is going to be classic. When was the last time he did that LeBron set up a teammate for an iconic moment who wasn't already a great player? Kyrie Irving doesn't count because Kyrie is a Hall of Famer on the merits of his game. Paxson ain't no damn Hall of Famer. Steve Kerr ain't no damn Hall of Famer. But when you talk about that Bulls dynasty, you talk about the top 10 moments, Michael has like 6, 7, 8 of them. Steve Kerr got one. Paxson got one. And when you're able to take pretty average players and elevate them and give them the confidence to make the most in the most critical moments that will not only define that team, that organization, that generation, but also your legacy. That is why I tend to give Michael a little bit of an edge, because Michael not only created a legacy of greatness for himself, but he positioned guys to do things that no other player could have possibly positioned him to do, because those guys had the confidence to do those things because Michael had confidence in them. And I never saw that with J.R. Smith, who was a hell of a shooter. I never saw that with him. I never saw that with, some of the other decent but not great players. Boobie Gibson. Oh, no, sorry. Not a bad player in his time, but he wasn't that dude. That to me is what Michael why I tend to put him above and beyond LeBron, because of his ability to not only elevate himself to greatness, but also those around.
All right, LeBron, check back in next year. Maybe our opinions would have changed. But until then, maybe not.
Well, if they can get to the NBA Finals and then Dennis Schrader is making like game-winning shots.
Boom. Set your teammates up for success.
We got a different conversation.
Right. So until then, though, our next episode, oh my goodness, is our next episode next year?
Our next episode will be in 2023-20.
Well, I can say see you all next year. If you haven't done so already and you've been listening to this podcast for at least a year, please give us a review, a star, share with a friend, whatever you need to do. Make sure you're spreading the love around this holiday season and, of course, sharing some love with us. Thank you all for listening this entire year. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis. This is the A-List Podcast. Tune back in next year.